Hello, and welcome to Lesson 2.1, Exploring the Classroom Body Systems Model. Now, this lesson, we're going to do a little bit differently. We're going to divert a little bit from what this lesson is actually asking us to do. And you'll see why in a minute, but I might actually make this shorter for you, which you probably don't mind. Hey, before we do anything, let's go ahead and do the warm-up. Now, the warm-up asks you to, come on, here we go. Here we go. I'll just jump there and amplify. The warm-up asks you to open up the simulation, which we are going to do. Warm-up. It wants you to follow the path of oxygen through the body. It says, launch the metabolism simulation, select healthy body, select observe, focus on just oxygen by pressing on the other molecules at the bottom of the screen to hide them. Let's take a look at what we mean by that. And it says, observe and describe how oxygen moves through different parts of the body. Interesting. So we select healthy body, reload, yes, sure. And then, wait, did it say test or observe? It said observe, great. We're gonna go to observe, and it said, okay, what do? I wanna click on all the other molecules except for oxygen. That's all I wanna focus on. You know, I like to speed things up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and go to double speed. And what you're doing, you're observing what happens to oxygen as it moves through different parts of the body. Observe and describe. So watch that for a little bit. And then go ahead and write your, describe in detail. See that? In detail. Write your notes in here and then come on back to me. So the classroom body systems model. You know, I'm not too sad that we're not going to be doing this because last year it took so much setup. It took a long time to get this thing put together. And then you had to reset it up every time in between classes. And honestly, the return on investment, I don't think was super high. So I'm just going to tell you about it. And also, I want you to watch this video. The video is actually pretty good. It's informative too. It tells you about what is happening to these molecules as they enter and go throughout the body. And a big part of it has to do with how do they get from outside of the body to the inside of the body? Because, okay, I need glucose. I'm going to eat a sandwich, and I'm going to get some glucose from that sandwich. But how does that glucose get actually to my cells? Like, I have cells in my foot that need that glucose, right? How does that work? I ate this sandwich, went into my stomach. Okay, what about oxygen? Oxygen too, like I breathe. My cells need oxygen. My foot cells need oxygen. How does the oxygen get from my lungs all the way to my foot? In fact, how does it get to every single cell in my body? My brain cells, my hand cells, my heart cells, my elbow cells. It's got to go to every single cell in the body. How does that work? So watch that video. It's attached to your lesson. It's also on my YouTube channel. And then we will talk a little bit about what we saw. So go ahead, pause this, watch that video, and come back. What were some of the things that we were supposed to notice? One of those key cells in the digestive system were on the villi, right? The villi were these finger-like structures that were all over your intestines, and they were absorbing, the cells on the villi were absorbing those nutrients. And when they absorbed those nutrients, where did they send them to? To the bloodstream. Through capillaries, they entered into the bloodstream, and through the bloodstream, they were able to go to every single part of your body. Isn't that cool? So from your digestive system, those nutrients were absorbed. They entered into your body, into your bloodstream through the villi, and they were able to then be transported every single place they needed to go. In your lungs, the very, very ends of your lungs, because your lungs kind of branch off from bigger tubes to smaller tubes, and ultimately end up in the alveoli, which are these tiny little air sacs. What was surrounding the alveoli? It was capillaries. Capillaries again. So the oxygen from the air that you breathe goes into these alveoli, and it's able to pass through the alveoli into your bloodstream again. And once it's in your bloodstream, it's able to go to every single part of your body. Your bloodstream delivers nutrients and oxygen to every single cell in your body. Pretty cool how that works, how everything is connected. Not only is it delivering things to every single cell in your body, it's also taking things away from the cells in your body too. So anyways, essentially, for the body systems model, every single person had a role. Whether your role was to put things through the villi, to transport materials, and we acted it all out in a big group. Last year, there was a lot of confusion, and I spent the whole time answering questions and telling people they were doing it wrong. So we're just going to keep going. Hey, like I said, this lesson is actually going to go pretty quickly. There are a couple other things, though, that I want to highlight and talk about. We did that. Oh, man, there's so much instruction for this. See, look at all this instruction, all these slides. There's like 20 slides dedicated to the instructions for this. That can't be worth it. Here we go. Here's the reflection questions for it. What did you do in your role? Yeah, you didn't have a role, but that's fine. Oh, and then running the model, and then we actually run the model. Everyone has their look at this. There's still more instructions for this model. What is your role? Okay, here we go. Here's where I want to be. Key concepts. Let's review these. Now, I put a list of key concepts, vocabulary terms, and progress builds in your metabolism section in Google Classroom. I believe I called it the Metabolism Study Guide. This is an excellent resource for you to go to find out what are the key things I'm supposed to be taking away from this metabolism unit. That is a great place to go. The progress build describes basically some essential standards, the key concepts. These are also things that we're supposed to be taking away. Let's look at this one right here. Number 4, the digestive system brings in food and breaks it down into smaller molecules such as glucose and amino acids that can fit into cells. That's the function of the digestive system. We take food in, it breaks that food down so that it can get to our cells. You can't deliver a sandwich to your foot cells, right? You got to break that down. You got to break it down into its individual parts. And that's the role of the digestive system. It's breaking down your food so that it's in small enough pieces to be absorbed by your body and go to all of your cells. How about this one? The respiratory system brings in oxygen molecules from the air. These oxygen molecules are already small enough to fit into cells. Oh, thank goodness. We don't have to do any breaking down of oxygen molecules. They are really small. They are only 2 atoms big. 2 oxygen atoms put together to make an oxygen molecule. The next thing, the circulatory system. This is what transports, what we were saying, all of those nutrients, oxygen, amino acids, glucose to every single cell in your body. We saw how it is located close to the villi in your intestines, so that once those molecules are absorbed, it can go right into your bloodstream. The alveoli are surrounded by capillaries, so that once that oxygen is absorbed, it can go directly into your bloodstream, and it takes it everywhere. Cells can only use molecules that are small enough to enter a cell. That's why they have to be broken down. Oxygen, we're good. We don't need to break it down. But those other things, we need that glucose, we need those amino acids, those have to be broken down in order to get to our cells, okay? So in the model, one of the things that was going to happen towards the end was we were going to experience heart failure. The patient represented in the model is now in heart failure, which means there is not enough blood flowing through his body. To represent this in our model, please stop participating in the model and sit down at your desk, observe the model carefully for the next few minutes to see what happens. If someone's heart fails, that means they are not getting blood pumped through their body. Well, what's the function of blood? It's delivering all these things. It's delivering oxygen, glucose, amino acids, amongst other functions that it has. But if it's not delivering those necessary things to all the different parts of the body, what's going to happen to the body? You're right, it's going to stop working. So, bringing us to our chapter 2 question. What is happening in Elisa's body that could be preventing molecules from getting to her cells? Now, her body is still functioning, so it's not that her body is completely collapsing, but there is something wrong. Something is preventing some of these molecules from getting to her cells. We don't know what it is, but we probably have some guesses. Hey, we are at the homework. My daughter the other day, I said something about how, well, everything's homework. And she said, I'm so sick of people saying that. So I won't say that anymore for her sake. The homework, you're going to go into the simulation, the metabolism simulation. You can click on it right there. It'll take you directly to it. You're going to select healthy body and you're going to select observe, just like we've done in the past. And feed the body sandwiches. All right. Love me a sandwich. Why a sandwich? Because it provides a good mix of these different molecules that we want to focus on. So the first thing, focus on what happens to starch in the digestive system. Turn off all the molecules except for starch and glucose. What do you observe? So you will be, turn them all off. They're all off except for starch. Oh, there we go. And glucose. And you'll just start feeding this happy person sandwiches. You're going to make some observations and you're going to write down what you see here. Next, repeat your observation, but this time, turn off everything except for protein and amino acids. Write down what you notice. What happens to the protein and amino acids? Where do they go? Where do they start? Then you're going to do it with oxygen. What do you observe then? Don't forget about this number 2 here. Which molecules from food and air end up in the cells in the body? Now, pay close attention. Which of these actually end up in the cells? You might choose more than one. You're going to choose more than one. And then match each body system to what it does. We have circulatory, digestive, and respiratory as our options. You will move them next to the description for whichever one you think is right. Lastly, what questions do you still have about how molecules from food and air get to cells in the body? Mr. Wiggin, I don't have any questions. I understand it perfectly. Great. Does that mean you don't have to write anything there? No. Explain it for me perfectly since you seem to be so good at it. Otherwise, write a question. Maybe you still have some. So that's it. That's it. We skipped the whole body systems model, but hopefully you got a little bit of understanding of what it is. Yeah. So complete all that, and we will see you next time.